What no one tells you about stepping into the new version of yourself. One of my viewers asked this question: how do I step into the new version of myself as the frequencies are shifting and changing? Like, how does someone do that? Well, it's a really beautiful question because I get asked that question a lot. And I know even in my own journey, I also ask that question. But here's the truth that most people either they don't know or they don't tell you: you're not becoming someone else. You're not morphing into this new, shiny, upgraded human. Even though you may hear me talk about that we're creating a light body, you're still creating this light that fuses through you, but it's to illuminate you. You are remembering who you already are beneath the layers of any expectations, trauma, or any social conditioning that you may hold inside of you as patterns. And what I found out in my own journey, that I wasn't a new me, I was me, the one who had always been there, just waiting to be reclaimed. So, hi, my name is Nancy Rebecca. If you are new to my channel, I'm a retired registered nurse. I've been working for 30 years with clients studying the human energy field. I've also been teaching intuitive and psychic development. So, let's jump into this and see if we can unwind this question: how do you step into the new you? Well, we often talk about spiritual growth like it's a destination, somewhere that you're going, as if someday we're going to arrive at this shimmering, wiser version of ourselves that walks around glowing with enlightenment. And I'm laughing only because that I totally can relate to that. That's it. And as someone who never makes mistakes, but the truth is, the journey is not about becoming someone else. So when I began my own journey, it was like in 1994, and I had had a spontaneous out of body experience and a pretty big awakening after years and years of anxiety and depression, high levels of stress. So, if I can be really super honest with you, on the outside, I did look like I had it all together. But on the inside, I felt broken. I had many physical health issues. As I said, anxious. I had a loss of appetite. I had this inability to sleep more than a couple of hours at a time. I had dry skin. My hair was falling out. And while at the same time, I found myself holding any friendships or even my more intimate family relationships at a distance because I just didn't want them to know the real me. So when I began my own spiritual journey, I was inspired to become someone else. And you may all be able to relate to this. And that someone else that I imagined, that other version of myself that I imagined, I was going to take bits and parts of other people, either they were in my life or maybe I even saw them on television, bits and parts of someone else that had the qualities that I desired. So I had created this version of who I wanted to become. So for one person, I took an element of their confidence, another person, their quick-wittedness, another person, their ability to sound smart and wise. I wanted a beautiful singing voice from someone else, and I wanted to take the quality from another person that could be calm in a room full of people and say no and set boundaries with grace that ensured everyone would continue to like me. Can you relate to this? I ended up being like this patchwork quilt ready to discard all those broken pieces and sew a brand new coat made up of someone else's material. Now, this is what I've learned in the 30 years of my daily self-clearing, self-healing, spiritual work, meditation, living life, having experiences. The new version of myself was not new at all. It's actually ancient. It is and was the original blueprint of my soul, the one that was encoded into my DNA before the world began telling me who I was supposed to be, how I should behave, what was acceptable, yada, yada, yada. I was and you are born to be whole. I was and you are already born wise. I was, and you are also born with a frequency that is fully aligned with your divine self and your divine purpose. And we also carry what I call the epigenetics. So we have our DNA, we have our genetics, we all know that, but there's a large body of study. I encourage you all to explore it. Was the epigenetics of our ancestors, both their pain and their power. Their unhealed traumas can shape our choices and patterns. And so through life, we can begin to layer over our original self with mask roles, responsibilities, projections, and survival mechanisms. I set out on a spiritual journey hoping to become better. But what really happens? We shed everything that overlays us when you are going through these expansions here on earth. We become someone who's truer. We shed the overlays, we let go of the stories that don't belong to us, and we gradually begin to recognize ourselves again. I thought that once I cleared enough energy, I would transform into this radiant being of perfect grace. And I don't mean that tongue in cheek. I truly, truly, truly believed that. What I didn't expect was that I would simply become myself, not more, not less, just me. And what I can tell you with pure confidence, not somebody else's confidence, but my confidence, that being myself has become enough. So this study came up on a reel on Facebook. So I always love it how Spirit, I had already written this talk. And so this reel shows up about this study. And so I'm going to I have 4 pages here, but I'm just going to summarize what the study was. And I found it totally fascinating. So there's this thing that's called a Faraday cage, Faraday cage. Never heard of it in my life. But it's this creation of some type of metal so that whoever, if you're inside the cage, you are not getting distracted or impacted by any energies around you. So no electromagnetic fields are going to interfere with how you are experiencing yourself in the center of this cage. And so they did this study and they ran people through this study, and they would like read certain statements that might inspire rage and anger. It might inspire jealousy. It might inspire sadness, or it might inspire happiness, and it might inspire love. So in this little reel clip, what they expected to find was that love would have the highest frequency. And that's what we would all expect to find, right? Well, it was true that when things inspired love, then the spike would go very high, very consistently, no matter who was in the Faraday cage, no matter, when they were bringing something that would inspire love, that spike would go up. But here's the thing, and this is what I found so curious, is that there was another random spike that would happen once in a while in the study. It was very random. They weren't quite sure what it was connected to, but it was like, I wish I could remember it. It was like 40 times higher than love. Like it was off the chart. Now, you can find out about this study online. I did just a little brief research, and in the research, I found that in the scientific context, Faraday cages are used to shield experiments from external electromagnetic field, but there's no established scientific method that is consistent. So it's not been, it would not be, it would not qualify to be accepted by the entire scientific community. So I just want to say that. But what they found was this big spike. So the spike is authenticity. They went back and they reviewed the study that were of people, and they found that when they were asking questions, when that person was literally having an authentic moment, it was off the charts. It surpassed love. It surpassed everything, authenticity. So I was really curious if there had been studies about authenticity. But before I jump into that, what does authenticity mean to you? Like, if you really think about it, it's like, I prefer people being authentically themselves. But what really is that? Because honestly, I didn't know. I had to go look it up. Authenticity, typically defined as the degree to which an individual's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are congruent with your true self. That is, their core values, beliefs, and inner experiences. It's about being genuine. It's about being transparent. It's about being true to oneself, even when it's socially and emotionally challenging. So, in most academic definitions, they break it down into three categories: self-awareness. So this is one of the qualities of authenticity. Self-awareness, know your values, know your beliefs, emotions, and personalities. Be honest with yourself of who you are, your strengths, and your limitations. Now, I do know this is where belief systems come in, because if you don't believe you're strong and that you can set boundaries, and you've got a belief system that you're not strong enough to set boundaries, then definitely you'll want to take a look at that belief system so you can let go of that lie. But self-awareness, I know what I stand for, what I feel, and I don't pretend. All right. So the second category of authenticity is unbiased processing, where you can be truly objective, assessing your behavior, your emotions without distortion, denial, or self-deception. You're able to accept both your positive and your negative traits. And you just can say, I see myself clearly, not through the lens of ego or shame. Now, I've had a couple of students and I've had friends who say they can't recognize, like if someone says you seem to be grumpy all the time, or someone says you're really sarcastic, but they interpret that they never talk in a sarcastic way. They think they talk in a loving way, then they're not able to have unbiased processing. And then behavioral congruence. So congruent means the same. So acting in alignment with your internal beliefs and values rather than just conforming to external pressures and expectations. Expressing your true self in actions and relationships. So basically you're saying, I can live according to what feels real and meaningful to me, not just to please others. So when you have an authentic moment, what's happening is your spirit is not emotional, but your spirit is truly authentic. So when I'm talking about that we are moving into that state of creating the light body, who's the light? What's the light? Is it just like some random light bulb that gets turned on inside of you? No, it's your authentic soul, your authentic spirit coming all the way down into every cell of your body. And so here's the thing. The more of your spirit is in your body, the more you're authentic naturally. There's no instruction manual. You don't have to figure it out. You don't even have to try hard. It just is a natural state of being. So authenticity builds resilience and it reduces stress. So in the research in Frontiers magazine and neurology indicates that authenticity contributes to greater resilience and lower stress levels throughout your entire life. Living authentically helps individuals cope more effectively with challenges and decreases the likelihood of childhood chronic stress. Okay. So my daughter once said to me about 10 years ago that what her belief system is. Just be real. So basically she's saying, just be authentic. If you're happy, be happy. If you're mad, be mad. If you're sad, be sad. But if you're sad or mad, don't pretend to be happy. And so basically in a nutshell, that's exactly what authenticity is. And so what does that require? It requires a bit of self-reflection, doesn't it? It requires a little bit more of that going inward to see how you're truly feeling in that moment. And what I can tell you about this is that I often didn't know, and I want to share this little bit of wisdom with you. Because I so did not know what I was feeling, I would probably know what somebody else was feeling. Or maybe someone would ask me a question about how I felt about something and I didn't know. Or maybe I needed to make a decision, but the decisions that I usually made would favor the outcome for someone else. I mean, I'm a nurse, right? I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I'm other oriented. I was the oldest child of a family of 4 kids. And so once I learned that about myself, then I would say to someone, I like to sit in quiet contemplation before I make a decision. So I'll get back with you in a few days. Or I like to meditate on the answer before I give it to you. So I remember once my brother called me, and this was easily 10 years ago. And he had a question for me. And he said, "Now, I know that you like to meditate before you get your answer. So I'm giving you a couple of weeks before you have to get back to me." And then he asked me the question. And so people were not offended. As a matter of fact, you're teaching and mentoring and modeling healthy, energetic behavior. Because now what's going to happen is that person will say, I didn't think I could take time to think about an answer before I answered it. So, and to this day, I still do that, but my self-awareness is much, much higher now. So I don't need to wait as long. I usually have a strong sense of knowingness about whether I'm going to say yes or no. So let me go back to the person that I became. That was being revealed. I came to a point where I also became someone that other people didn't like very much. And this was the hardest part for me because I wanted to be liked. I wanted people to like me. I wanted them to see the best versions of myself. And maybe I was called, but maybe I was called by other people that I wasn't being spiritual enough. If I dropped F-bombs, then I was considered irreverent. I was considered not very spiritual. But all were parts of me. All of these are parts of me, not just me, only me. And that's the truth. This was all of me until I clear more layers. And then I clear more layers and I find there's even deeper layers of the truest me. Now, when I think about the experience that I had back in Egypt, where I visited this small room where this beautiful carved marble statue of Sekhmet was in. And when I think about that experience of the lion goddess who is known to be bloodthirsty, by the way. And I heard her voice say, "Stand right there and do not move until I tell you to." And I knew that that direct message came from the lion goddess. And honestly, I did also think that's not how a spiritual goddess should behave. But over the next days and weeks, I experienced her compassion towards wholeness and healing that surpassed all the other experiences that I had felt with this deep compassion. I liked her sassiness. But more than that, she expressed her true form unapologetically. Will I ever be like her? As I clear more and more, I become a newer version of myself? I doubt it, because my true nature, it truly is my true nature, tends to be caring and kind and patient. And I'm often called, well known for my being consistent. But I also I can come on strong like a mother bear when my students do a reading and the person they read told them that they missed the mark. I always tell my students, who said that? So let me just mention before we finish up a few other teachers that have talked about this, where you're not becoming a new version of yourself. You're becoming a true, ancient, embodied version of yourself. So Michael Meade, a mythologist and storyteller, says the genius in your soul was there from the beginning. It's not something you become, it's something you remember and layers that you release. Pema Kudron, a Buddhist nun, teaches, I loved this, you are the sky. Everything else is just the weather. I love that. The storms pass. The clear sky you is always there. Carl Jung, the psychiatrist, well-known psychiatrist, didn't speak in modern spiritual terms, but his process of individuation was exactly this: not becoming someone new, but reuniting with the self that's always been buried underneath the persona. So, and then the last one here, Ram Dass. We're all just walking each other home. I've always loved that one as well. And that home is not a destination. Home is you. It's your spirit. It's your original frequency before the world got so loud. I love it. I love it. So, how do you continue to step into your truest self? Well, instead of asking, how can I be better? Why don't you ask yourself, where have I been hiding my true self? Listen for those subtle answers. How about noticing what it feels like to be home in your body, not scared, not anxious, not depressed, but just set your intention in those quiet places. Ask your higher self, your spirit, ask your body, help me to feel where I've been hiding home. Help me to bring home forward. Let me feel what it feels like to be at home in my own body. You will find your own gold there. And honor the shedding process. Be gentle as roles, identities, and relationships fall away. You're not falling apart. You're falling inward. You're falling back into your original essence. So reclaim your joy without needing to ask anybody for permission. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to earn it through healing. Just allow it to bubble up. Even though nothing is fixed, your true self will speak through you. Stop searching and start listening. There's nothing outside of you that will complete you. Let me say that again. There is nothing outside of you that will complete you. And what's next will come not from seeking, but from deep inner listening. Your soul is already speaking. Now let it finish the sentence. So, for the past 3 months, I've had a big dream, I've had a big desire, and I'd love to share it with you. And then I invite you to share your big dream and desire in the comment section. And my big dream, everything else aside, I want to feel 100% free to be happy. Even if I'm standing in the middle of a lot of people who aren't happy, who are grumpy, who are irritated, who are angry, who are depressed or anxious, I want to feel free enough inside of me to be able to experience my own happiness and freedom. And so that's what I do. In any moment, I'll check inside and I'll say, am I feeling happy right now? Yes. And I can be satisfied in that. Or I'll ask, am I feeling happy right now? No. All right. What steps do I need to take to feel happier? Go for a drive or go for a walk, watch a movie, whatever it is, and then I take those steps regardless of what's going on around me. So it's a journey. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been on this journey for as long, and maybe many of you have been on it longer than I have. And it's still an ongoing process, but I love that self-discovery process. So don't worry about becoming this next new shiny thing. Just become yourself, and even if that means dropping a few F-bombs. So, all right, I could go on about that subject, but I hope that it helps. Love to hear from you, and let's just keep walking this path together, because we are always stronger together than we ever have been apart. All right, take care, everyone. See you on the next teaching.